Welcome to the Teaching Bites podcast. Here are your hosts, Fred and Sharon Jaravada.
Welcome to the Teaching Bites show, where we connect you with people and ideas to take your teaching to the next level. I'm your host, Fred Jaravada, and welcome to our show today. Today, we have a very special guest that I want to introduce to you, our listener, and share her story. Today, we are interviewing Alicia, Tapia, and she's a librarian, teacher, and she has something really cool also, something to do with bicycles and libraries. So she melded the two together, and we're going to get her story and what she created with this. Okay? Good afternoon, Alicia.
Hey, how's it going?
Doing well, first of all, thank you so much for taking the time at the end of your day, a long day, I know, and join us for our show.
Of course, no problem.
Okay. So go ahead and tell us your origin story. What's your origin story? How'd you get into teaching? And tell us your experience and how'd you get to this place?
How'd I get here?
Out of in the whole universe, how did you come to this point?
It's actually like a magical story. Let's see. I'm originally from Honolulu, Hawaii. I've always loved school. Never thought I'd be a teacher, but here I am. Let's see. When I was a teenager, I was working in retail, you know, all the little shops that teenagers tend to work at, and it just really bored me. And then my grandmother was a librarian, and so I spent a lot of time in libraries, and I started working. I found a nice, chill job in the library, and I ended up working there for maybe, I really don't remember, 6, 7, 8 years in a public library. And one day, just thought I really enjoy doing this, and I love learning what other people are learning about and what they're excited about learning. And then I also took up a second job. I kind of got hooked up by one of the other librarians that was working there, and her husband needed someone to do an after-school care thing, and so that's when I first started working with kids. I was still in college. Again, wasn't really thinking about being a teacher, but was thinking about being a librarian. And anyway, I started doing that when I graduated from college with my BA in Spanish. I had a cousin that was like, hey, my kid's school, or my niece's school needed a Spanish teacher, elementary Spanish teacher. And I said, well, why not? And so I started teaching elementary Spanish to K through 8th graders.
K all the way to 8th grade?
So I had a
Oh.
lot of different lesson plans going on, lots of different levels and scaffolding. And then I was working on my master's in library and information science. I also became a homeschool teacher on the side to 2 really awesome little boys. And so, I mean, it was just fun. I just love learning. I love knowledge. I love that. I love those moments of like, I didn't know that. And I love seeing that in the eyes of children. And so whether it's, you know, they're reading a book or they just learned something in school, like, I didn't know that, or, oh, that's what that's about. You know, that's what I live for.
So take us back to that. Can you name it, the aha moment that you realized, like, bam, this is it? I mean, this is what I really am passionate about. Was there a moment in time that just clicked for you?
I think, yeah, actually, but it's not that exciting of a moment, but I was literally just at the circulation desk at the public library that I had been working for I was working there for several years by then, and I think I had been a year out of college, not really feeling like where I was going, and then I think it was just some interaction with a patron and what they had learned due to a book that I had given them or recommended to them or helped them find, and like the gratitude that was exchanged, and I just realize like such a simple moment can just be so powerful and impactful. And I love libraries. I mean, I love the silence. I love the room to think. And yeah, it was just this moment. I was just sitting at the circulation desk thinking, I should get my master's in this. I should become a librarian.
Wow. And that's good. Wow. But I think those simple moments are really very powerful, right? There's nothing flashy, there's nothing really big about it, but just those little moments. And then maybe more little moments like that just build up
Yeah, more
each
little
other.
signs, and it just sets everything forward in motion when you know it's right.
Right.
So, yeah.
Okay. So you've been teaching and you've been a librarian for how many years now?
God, I'm really not good with time, but I'd say I've been here at Tamiriac Academy for 5 to 6 years.
5 to 6 years.
Yeah, 5.5 years,
Right.
almost 6 years now.
Okay. So now, what you know now, what is the one thing you wish you have known when you started?
Ooh, what is the one thing I wish I had known? What I wish I had known was that I don't need to know everything. I think a lot of teachers put a lot of pressure on themselves, like, I'm going to teach the kids how to program this little mini computer. And yes, there is a necessary amount of preparation that you need to undergo, but when you don't know something, it's okay to say, I don't know yet.
Right.
And then ask a student or tell your students, like, why don't you help me figure that out? And then that kind of transfers the power, and then we become like this learning community.
Right.
Instead of, oh, I don't know, like, I don't know, and then when you get flustered like that, the students can tell, and then it's, all out the door. So.
And I think that's a big shift now. I mean, before before the internet, the teachers were really supposed to know everything, really, back in the day. But now, it seems that it's okay not to know everything.
I mean, we do have to know how to teach.
Yeah.
And how we should, especially when you have a certain subject, like, you do need to know. But I guess that's the lucky thing I have with digital literacy, is that we're not making it up as we go, but we're learning together, definitely, because it's going faster than ever before.
And it's also learning about your student.
Oh, totally.
Right.
Totally. That's everything. If you don't have that relationship there, if there's not a ground of mutual respect, nothing will get transferred.
Is there an example of how do you get to know your student?
Let's see. Honestly, just being really relaxed and asking them about their weekends. In the beginning of every year, I do a little, this is me, this is what I did this summer.
Which you do, right?
Yeah.
You talk about yourself too.
Yeah, it's like a quick 5-slide assignment. Boom, boom, boom. This is me. This is what you need to know. And then, like, every day I'll share something a little bit. Like, being from Hawaii is pretty unique. And it's a really nice perspective that I get to share with kids. And so it's kind of like when they realize I really enjoy being from Hawaii, they'll come up to me and say, like, oh, I ate this, or or they'll go there for vacation and then tell me about it. And so we kind of just build this relationship. We play basketball together. We learn together, and we just have. I like to think we have mutual respect for each other. It's not a one-way street where they have to respect me. I respect them too.
And you build.
Yeah, I should do it.
Okay, so you were talking about how do you get
to
know your students, right? And you said you have a 5-slide project.
Yeah,
Is that right?
It's
And
like
then
a quick assignment.
And then you talked about yourself, and the kids relate, especially if one of your students goes to Hawaii.
Yeah, or anything Hawaiian, Lilo
Right.
and Stitch. I'm like, yeah, that was my childhood.
Well, you know what? The first time I've been to Hawaii, outside of the airport, I went there last year. My whole family and we went to Hawaii last year. My wife's been there a few times, but the first time I've been to Hawaii, I'm like, wow, this is so cool. It's amazing. Honestly, I don't know if I can work there because it's too nice to work there. It's too nice. Okay, so going back to your students. How do you
love them.
You love them, right?
They're so funny.
And how do you motivate them?
Oh, how do you motivate them? You figure out what they like and make everything relevant to them.
Right.
So you have to have a relationship with your students. You have to know what makes them tick. So yeah, I mean, like a huge part of it is getting to know your student, not having a fixed idea of them or what they're capable of, but just a fixed idea that they're capable of anything, and then really transferring that belief into them and getting them to believe that as well. And then, I don't know, kind of when you're enthusiastic about what you've got to teach, it's very... what's the word? It's very, like, it spreads easily.
Infectious.
It's infectious. Yeah,
Right.
it's contagious.
Contagious, right.
Yeah, like my students, I'm sure, can tell when I'm really excited about something and when I'm not, you know?
Right.
Because if I don't have that buy-in, they're not going to buy in
Right.
either.
And you have to have that authentic.
Right.
The authentic trust and authentic infectious or contagious feeling, right?
Right. Right. And so, and our kids here at Demiriac, they have a very strong motivation to motivate themselves. They're the most resilient children I know.
Right.
And they have certain motivations of their own that have a lot to do with their families and where they're from and where they're trying to go. And so they motivate themselves really well. And so if I can kind of tie that into, like, okay, you're going to need this in high school, or we really got to get this down so that it's not so hard in high school,
right.
or this is real life. What is university? What
right.
are your other post-secondary options? Or like just having fun. They really like
right.
music, so let's make a song, like anything. It's as long as learning it's business and it's fun.
Right.
There's the right balance of both.
Now, just to talk about your school, where you're working at now, it's an urban school, heart of the city in San Francisco. And can you quickly just talk about the demographics so that the listeners know where you're coming from? Yeah,
sure. So Demiriac is a 4th through 8th grade school in the Tenderloin. Our mission is to serve the holistic child, so spiritually, and academically. We try to get them on level by the time they leave our
right.
doors. And even after that, we don't quite let go of them. We have a graduate support program, and the Daughters of Charity and the Christian Brothers and many, many benefactors fund our school and provide scholarships for these children so they don't pay tuition. It's a Catholic education,
right.
and they have the opportunity to go to some of the best high schools in San Francisco. And so, but I think what's really special about this school is we're not just giving them the education. It's like it's a family here. And
right.
we focus on virtues of responsibility and compassion, integrity, gratitude.
Right.
I mean, they're in every lesson, in every class.
And the respect. This is the first time I visited the school, and I was just waiting for you down in the office, and I just kept hearing knocks.
Mm-hmm. Oh, yeah.
And then a student couldn't come in.
Right.
Just that respect alone. I'm like, wow, that's a really cool way to teach. You just can't just barge in.
Right.
Right?
Mm-hmm.
And I think that alone just shows me that you're teaching them respect.
Right.
Right.
Yeah, we have high expectations for that. A lot of our visitors are always really impressed with, our kids are so able to talk to people, shaking their hand, looking them in the eye.
Right.
That's what's really special about our kids. Some of our kids are way more sociable than a lot of adults that we meet, and whether they know it or not, they have like a really special gift with being genuine and
right.
welcoming and respectful and still just
saying
so
thank
awesome.
you, excuse me,
Uh-huh.
right? Mm-hmm. And I think that can take them a long way in life, right?
Totally.
Okay, so can you name a time about an oh well moment where the oh well in our context, it's like something that you planned out or something that you wanted to do and then it didn't happen and
right.
you're like, oh well.
Yeah. Oh well.
The oh well moment.
I mean, the first thing I thought of when I was thinking about this question was I like to try a lot of new things and collaborate with other subject areas. And so we did this art project where it also related to their social studies class because they were learning about Hindu deities. And I was trying to teach them, Photoshop skills, layering, just editing things, not just taking things from the internet, but like really you creating your own thing mixed media, and there were all these elements I wanted to bring together. And we don't have like a nice fancy subscription to Photoshop, but I found some free applications, cloud-based applications online, and I was like, oh, no worries, we can use Sumo Paint, we can use Pixlr, whatever. And they got pretty far. These were sixth graders. They were able to sketch out the deity and incorporate elements of Hindu art. And then the art teacher gave me the great idea to like kind of make these 3D. And so the idea was like, yeah, we're layering in Photoshop, but we're also layering in real life. So and so we're like, it was a really rad idea. And so I just didn't realize how long it would take and sort of what the, not the learning curve, but what just kind of where my students were. They did it awesome. They did well. They did really good. They persevered like crazy, but it was the application. It would just crash, Adobe Flash. It
bogs down some, yes.
Boom. And then they're like, great, I lost everything. And you could see the frustration in their eyes. And I'm like standing there like, I'm so sorry, I don't know.
And it's not them, it's a technology,
yeah, exactly. Right? But then they took it in stride, and I always thank them for their perseverance. And,
and that's the thing. I think that's the key right there, right? The perseverance.
Yeah. And that's one of our school learning expectations, that we're always telling them like good perseverance, But some of them did manage to keep it. I mean, to finish it all the way through, and they did end up pretty cool. But there are some students that like we just couldn't make it there, and I needed to move on to another unit. I could tell they were kind of getting like, when is this over? And I was feeling that too. And I was like, we're not done. We're still going to finish it. Right. But we're going to put this on the side, go forward with this unit, and then we'll take some extra days or like an extra 30 minutes every day, maybe during their reading time, where I just pull them out and we can work on it. So it's like, it was an oh well moment, but it's kind of like, we're going to finish that later.
It's not yet done.
Yeah.
Oh, well, until
Let's
then.
take a break,
right?
and then we'll come back and get this problem again.
Oh, that's pretty awesome. I like that. You continue on. Don't just, it's on hold right now.
Yeah, it's on hold.
Being a librarian, and you're also the digital literacy teacher. What's the biggest challenge of being a librarian, or in today's world, in the whole Google search engine world, or if you can speak to digital literacy, what's the biggest challenge that you experience?
The separation, well, there are two things that come to mind. The first and the primary one, well, I guess they're actually on equal level, but the first is thinking deeper than just the shallows, For example, when we're searching for information online, sometimes we think we can just get, and many times we do. We just get the answer from the results that
the first three
Google.
results, right? Sometimes.
Right, but then we don't look further into the authority and the relevance of the source. And so that is really hard because, we don't, the internet is so, we can post anything. The kids know that. And yet they don't, what we're trying to teach them is to look further beyond that. And so I do that in my own way. Like I kind of trick them sometimes, and then it's like it's an opportunity or it's a chance for them to think like, is this real?
Well, how do you trick them?
There's the Pacific Northwest tree octopus, and I tell them.
It's been like a while since I've seen that. Yes, okay.
And I'm like,
can you quickly explain that real quick?
So the Pacific Northwest tree octopus is my new favorite animal. That's what I tell the kids. I'm like, oh my God, have you seen this? And we watch videos, and I tell them, yeah, me and Mr. Lee, the science teacher, we want you to do this report on it. So, let's research it. And then all of a sudden it's their favorite animal, and then we're talking about it a lot. And then I do give them an assignment like, okay, who are the experts that gathered all of this? And then it, winds up being some really weird anonymous dude, and And, you see it in their eyes. They're still like, huh? Like, they don't get what just
Right.
happened. And then, that's actually like the second lesson I do. The one I do before that is I show them all of these pictures that are from, like Hurricane Katrina or something. But they're not real photos. They're doctored, or they're from other things. And so, we kind of like, whoa, look at that. That's crazy. But then the idea that, like, wait, is that real? The critical thinking piece is super important. So I think that's one. And that's affecting their ability to, like, critically think and stop and take the time to think about, what am I looking at? Is this real? God gave us this ability to think critically, and yet we're not using it. We're just kind of swimming in the shallows, So I think that's one big problem. The second problem with digital literacy, esque sort of things is like, I guess, the balance between off-screen time and on-screen time, and especially with the push into schools, one-on-one, like we're always with devices, we're tied to them. Great, but there's just so much more when you're offline, and so helping them see, like, how vivid life can be.
Right. It's not a retina display.
Right.
This is real life.
This is real life. This is real people, especially. That's a hard part.
This is 3D, real 3D.
Yeah, and this person has a heart.
Right.
This person is a human being. So that's like something that's really important to me in my teaching. When someone's talking, everyone kind of needs to they need to put their screen down. The other teachers in this school are really good with eye contact, So if someone's speaking, we put the screen down, we look at that person, and we talk. And I always say, like, show them your aloha, like your respect. You're respecting their person, because they are a real person, And
Yes.
it seems really crazy to have to tell kids, no, this is a real human being, because I don't know, it's just a really interesting thing that's happening with. This is their world. They were born into this.
Right, they were born into this, and this whole thing, this whole Google and Facebook and Microsoft all coming up with this virtual reality stuff coming up.
Yeah, we're actually making Google Cardboard.
Google Cardboard. See, that's the thing. It's really cool, but now it's another challenge for us educators, right? How do we determine the real world, and how do we interact with that in the real world?
How is this helping the world?
Right. I mean, we see the benefits, right? You could take.
Right. It's like engineering.
Right.
Yeah.
But that's something, maybe a future episode. We can talk about that in about 5-10 years from now.
Yeah.
Okay. So obviously you love books.
Obviously.
What's your favorite book? What inspires you? Oh, well, let me rephrase that. What's your favorite book now? Or even, what's your favorite book?
I always have a favorite book.
You have a favorite book. And how does that inspire you?
Easy. Fahrenheit 451 by Ray Bradbury. Dystopian world of the future where firemen aren't putting out fires but are instead setting fire to books. Books are not allowed to be read. And kind of what happens, it's just kind of like our life. The idea that people just go home and look at pictures on the wall, and then how that really just takes the life out of being alive. And what happens when you don't know things, or you don't challenge your mind or expand your brain or your way of thinking, how you become unable to connect in real life with real humans. And so anyway, that's my favorite book of all times by Ray Bradbury. And it inspires me every day, just thinking of especially in the internet age, I guess, the books are still the most important thing to me, the most valuable piece of knowledge. I mean, it's something tangible that I can touch and turn the page and, smell the pages and all that kind of stuff. It's something that with the internet, it's very easy to just get very distracted and not allow your brain to really deepen its focus and reap all the benefits of it. So
now let's switch it up now. What is your favorite tech tool and why?
What is my favorite tech tool? Okay, my favorite tech tool, I don't have a favorite tech tool because it's mostly everything that's been around. So whether it's a video camera or a sound recorder or a screen. So yeah, touch screen's awesome, but as long as I have like a projector to act as a windshield to the world to show them things, that's great. But so if I had to like name some apps I use a lot, like wevideo.com, it's all like cloud-based, free. I like anything cloud-based and free because the students can get it wherever they are. Soundtrap is my new favorite. Yes, it's a cloud-based music editor, and people can collaborate different tracks.
Oh, they can collaborate together.
Yes, it's very cool.
Soundtrap.
And it's Soundtrap, yeah, and it's very reliable as far as yeah. So that's my new favorite one. It's free.
Oh wow! And collaborate together. Okay.
Yeah, students
that's
can
new.
like
I've never heard that.
be collaborators on a song. Like I love using just like the phone to record kids, make their own commercials.
Your smartphone, yeah, right.
Yeah, I mean it's funny because it's everything I used as a kid, playing around, making my own newscasts.
Right.
It's the same thing, but it's just fancier now.
Yes.
Easier.
Yes, it's much easier now.
It fits in your pocket.
And those are really simple tools, which I like. Simple, free, and it's on hand, right?
Anything simple and free. And cloud-based.
And cloud-based. One of my favorite tools, I guess, and I talked to Ramsey and Masalam about this the other night, Canva. And he didn't know about Canva. Do you know what Canva is?
I don't.
It's like Photoshop, but so much easier.
Ooh.
It's free. It's not. There's a pro version you could collaborate with, but the free one, all the art I've been doing, all the media, what I've been doing, I use that.
Maybe I'll get the kids that didn't finish their JAD projects.
They can do Canva.
Perfect.
It's much easier. You can do layers and so on. It's very easy, drag drop. You could import pictures if you need to. Pictures. So try that out.
I'm
Canva.
definitely gonna look into that.
Canva.
Like, does it run on Adobe Flash? So
on the browser, it's all browser. It works well on all the browsers except sometimes with Safari.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, but yeah.
I'll try it out.
Chromebook. Try it out. It's a really cool tool. But okay, Soundtrap. That's very cool.
That is an
check it out.
awesome one. Yeah.
Okay. What other? What's your favorite resources for ideas? Like, where do you get ideas from? Twitter.
Yeah.
Now, why Twitter?
Because I can connect with all the other educators that are out there doing awesome things. If I need help figuring out how I'm going to teach these kids how to program a Raspberry Pi, I just hashtag Raspberry Pi, or I look at the Raspberry Pi Twitter, because people are retweeting ideas that are working in their classrooms. And I think especially like within the field of digital literacy, there's not a lot of books I can go and look at. The resources are on the internet for me, and with Twitter, I just like connecting with other educators.
Right.
That's how
we
got
met.
connected. And yeah, whether I meet them at a conference or it's just someone that I'm like, wow, like Alice Keeler and all her Google stuff really helps
good stuff.
out. There's like a lot of other teacher librarians who are in the same position as I am.
I actually do follow a few librarians on Twitter also. Yeah. You librarians are badass. I swear.
We do have the best job in the world.
You guys got a lot of good stuff. I'm like, wow, and I just follow you guys. Like, okay, you guys have a lot of cool stuff.
Yeah, and we're like all subjects.
Right, all subjects. That's the thing. I'm like, wow, you guys are deep.
Yeah, we can do anything.
You guys are the original Google, right?
We got a book for everything. Yeah.
Yes. See, that's the key there. I don't know if I can do that. It's definitely different mindset where you gotta. Like you said earlier, you don't need to know everything, but you know where to find things.
You have to know where to find it, yep.
You know where to find things.
You got to know where to find reliable information on it.
Boom, right.
Books.
Exactly. Now, Twitter. I know a lot of teachers, they sign up for Twitter, but they don't use Twitter anymore. Why is that, you think?
Well, it's a lot, It's a lot of information there's always new tweets. Oh, you got new tweets. And so I think maybe they feel like they have to go through all of them. I don't really think so. I mean, if you find something when you're just browsing, then it was meant to be, but you don't need to go. You're never going to find the bottom of your feed.
Or they should ask a question, right?
Right.
Somebody might find it, right?
Yeah.
Interact with it.
I also think it's like a place to showcase what you're doing.
Mm-hmm.
Pinterest, is another one.
Pinterest, yeah. Tons
I'm
of stuff
not
on
going to
Pinterest.
deny it. I
You're
can
not-
look up what I'm going to eat for dinner.
That's right.
And then I can look up how I'm going to do my bulletin board. And then,
What is your ta-da moment? And maybe this is related to your other project that you do. And if that's it. I mean, it's up to you.
Yeah. My ta-da moment? What do you mean by that?
Well, okay, so going back before we talk about your other project, about your ta-da moment, something you're proud of, something that you're like, this is what I did. I did this with my students, or something, this is my keystone moment. This is my creation that you want to share. If you had to share one thing in your journey so far, I know it's deep.
With my students, it would be their digital portfolios, because everything we make, we start them from 4th grade, and then they build them every year until they graduate, and that's where they get to showcase their best work, and that's where they get to go back and reflect on how much they actually grew from 4th grade, both like their voices are deeper, and they're not making that same mistake where they're not putting a space after a period in their essays,
Right.
Those little things that just show growth, and they can see, these last 5 years made a difference. I know more now.
Right.
And so with digital portfolios, whatever they make, whether it's like a slideshow or a video or some essay or whatever other project they're proud of, they can put it there, and it's like a time capsule for later.
It's an artifact of their
of their
moment,
learning.
their time,
Yeah.
their life, part of their life, right?
And they're learning. And so student-wise, I would say that, because it just really demonstrates the growth. And I can't take credit for all of that. It's all
Right.
the teachers here. But it's nice that I help them set that up.
Right.
Because as technology changes, there's always going to be new projects. I'm always really proud of all the projects the kids do. Like the 8th graders, they made their own Google Cardboard glasses, and I'm very proud of them doing that. And just everything. I don't know. I'm proud of every little thing they do. So I think the portfolios,
awesome. That's awesome.
My other ta-da, though, I guess would be the Bibliobicicleta.
Okay, so what is that? What is? I read it. I went to your site, obviously, and but explain what it is and what's its purpose. And I think you're the only Kickstarter person I know
Really?
that did this. Yes.
Yeah. Well, Bibliobicicleta, I was a library assistant at Sacred Heart Cathedral Prep. That's how I ended up here at Miriac. But I was sitting with another librarian. Her name is Daniela Farinacci, another very good librarian teacher. And we both ride bikes. We both love books. And we were just kind of chatting away about, man, wouldn't it be awesome if we had a trailer that had books? Because librarians get a lot of free books. People are always wanting to give us books. And, of course, librarians take them because we're like, I can never have enough.
Right.
So, but sometimes you can have enough. It's when you run out of space. And I just thought, why are we keeping all this when there are people in the world who, are not reading because they're, stuck to the cell phone, or, they're just not reading. There's something special that reading does, with a book. And so we looked into it, started Googling, trailers, book trailers, bicycle trailers, and then kind of sketching away what it might look like. And then I started looking into, I was like, well, I'm not going to construct this because then it'll just turn into a disaster. And so it was a lot of problem solving. It was a lot of, okay, here's a trailer, and which trailer is going to carry the amount of books? How many books am I going to carry? Where am I going to do this? Is my bike strong enough? It was a lot of problem solving.
But you kept going.
I kept going, kept pedaling forward. And it started off with just my simple bike. I had a bike basket in the front, and I would just make a sign that said Bibliobicicleta to take a book, and I would just lock my bike up, and people were taking the books. And I was like, that's awesome. People like free books. And I kind of like the mystery. Like, I don't know if they're reading it or not, but like if they do, then to have this like magical like, oh, they know something now that they didn't know before because they took a book from the Bibliobicicleta. But anyway, it got constructed by a carpenter whose name is Jasper, and he also did some of my shelf extenders in this library. And yeah, it's basically a little free library on wheels. My most consistent spot, I'm very sporadic with when I go out with it, but my most consistent spot is Tuesday nights in the Panhandle on Felon Central. And people can come and give me a handful of books. People always take one or two or a handful of books. No age limit. Babies can come.
So what are people saying? What's the reaction when they see you?
First they stop and they're like, can I take a picture? And I'm like, yeah, sure, whatever. Or they stop and they're like, what is this? Or my favorite is, I've seen you here before. What is this? You know?
Right.
And then you tell them, oh, just take a book. Or I'm always yelling free books. And so people will stop and look at the selection and it's like, oh, I've always wanted to read that. Or can I take this home for my sister? Can I take this from my neighbor?
Right.
Or yeah.
So they're thinking about other people too, not just
and it's
themselves.
awesome. And what's like a magical moment, one of my favorites with the Biblio is a neighbor, someone had just dropped off a couple books and they went ahead and put it on the shelf, and then a minute later someone else came and was like, I always wanted to read this book, and took it like right there in front of the person that just donated it. And she's like, oh yeah, I just put that there. And then it was like they were talking to each other,
right?
And you know, this other person becomes the person getting this other person amped on reading this book, and like and it was just like a really magical moment. And there's a lot of moments like that.
And you can't get that from Amazon.
No.
You can't.
Yeah.
Yes, I mean, connecting to a person, telling the story about that book.
And then they become friends, and then they're like, oh, you live right there? So like, I live over here. And
that's awesome.
They connect, and yeah, and that's the magical part. It's kind of just like the idea of de-screening and then making some time for some books, and then...
Right. That's awesome.
Yeah, and it's a lot of fun.
How can people find you on there, on your website?
I would say Facebook.com/bibliobicicleta. I should spell that.
I'll have it in the show notes too. That's good.
No, just look at the show notes.
Yes.
And so I'm also on Instagram.
Okay.
So Instagram.com/bibliobicicleta or Bibliobicicleta on your Instagram. And on Twitter, it's kind of a mix. It's a mix between my teaching and the Biblio.
Yeah.
So that's BiblioBCSF. And there's bibliobicicleta.com.
Okay. Cool. Where do you want to take the Bibliobicicleta, in the next 5 years or so? What's the next step?
Oh, that's a big question. Out of the state?
Out of the state.
I mean, that's kind of always been a big dream, you know, like, oh yeah, I'm going to take this like across the state, like to other places where books are actually still being banned, you know. So some school districts are banning books still. And I've always had this idea or this dream of taking the books that are banned and then just rolling through with the Bibliobicicleta saying like, no, you can read.
Right.
And if they're not letting you read, it's because they want to keep control of you or something. And so you better read this to figure it out, you know?
Yeah, that's an incredible big idea.
That's the dream. But,
it's a big dream,
but the Bibliobicicleta is really heavy, so I'll have to work to that. I'll have to train.
Okay, well, that or you make it upgrade to a motorcycle or something.
Oh man, I'll just need a troop of bicycle riders.
You're right.
We can switch off. You know.
That's awesome. I'd love to see that.
Yeah, so
That's really awesome. Yeah. Okay. What are you excited? I know you're very excited with Bibliobicicleta. Is there anything else you're excited about coming up? Some kind of professional development or something on the horizon that you see coming up in library technology, digital literacy?
There's nothing quite in particular, but I am excited about seeing the progression of this movement, because I feel like ever since the internet and access to information and connecting around the world, ever since that became, so easy for us to do within like these last 2 decades or so, I find that a lot of conferences and all that kind of stuff are also about taking that tech to a new level, challenging students not just to consume it, but to use it, to make it. I'm actually most excited to see about how this generation is going to use it for the better. Because it can go in 2 ways, and I guess I'm just going to go with the optimistic.
After
I see
this
it in
November,
my kids.
we'll see after November.
I was just reading some of my 8th graders' reflections on not what do they want out of life, but what does life need from them. And just seeing their responses, reminds you that you had the same dreams as an 8th grader too,
Right.
and so that spirit is still there. And so I'm very curious to see, I'm very excited to see how, maybe my 8th graders right now are going to take that to the new level with all the tools that we have. You can connect and help liberate other people around the world and treat each other with love and respect and protecting the dignity of each other. And I'm excited about that.
Right. It's good.
Yeah, I'm kind of
It's
always
awesome.
like big picture.
It's a good picture, yeah.
Because all the small, we're in the...
No, it's okay. Yeah, we are in the Tenderloin. It's
in the
great, though.
TL,
This is real, people. This is real.
But I think that's what I'm most excited about, honestly.
Awesome.
And I'm seeing a lot of like a shift in gears toward mindfulness
Okay, yeah.
and the balance of, okay, we're using tech, but now let's learn how to calm our brains and be in silence. And so I'm excited for the productivity that's going to come out of balancing both.
Right.
Because I think I feel like I've always been like, no, but the books.
Right, right,
I'm the tech teacher, but I'm also like all about the books because it's all about the balance.
right. And then I'm trying to do that too. Put that iPad down also. Let's build with our hands or something like that.
Yeah, totally.
Right? Okay, so here's another thing that teachers love to know about. Time-saving tip. Do you have a time-saving tip? Or some kind of hack you use to like cut corners or...
Teachers are going to be like, yeah, right. But I try to limit my grading at home to one night. And I use the app I think it's called BlockSite. It's a Google Chrome extension.
Right.
And so, I'm a human being. When I get on the computer, I'm like immediately opening 8 tabs because I got to get my fix of dopamine from all my sources. So what I do is I turn on the block, I think it's called BlockSite.
Okay.
It's a Google, I forget what it's called, BlockSite. And you can put, so I block Twitter.
Mm-hmm. All these other distractions.
I block everything.
Right.
And then I get to my grading. And I try to do it in one night. I give myself brain breaks. Like we give our students brain breaks. We need to take the brain breaks too. Makes us a lot more productive and happy. And that's kind of like a life hack for me, I guess.
Right.
The other one is just like when you're grading things online, just like multiple tabs and just going through it not as quickly as you can, but when you're doing progress reports and stuff, it's those tabs, opening new tabs. Something as simple as that.
No, it's a good one. Yeah.
But
cool. That's very
the
cool.
blocks, I have to block myself.
And you recognize that. That's the thing. You recognize that.
Yeah.
I know about those sites, but do I use those sites? I should be doing it.
It really helps because actually when you do find yourself like, I'm just going to check
the time suck.
Twitter. And then there's a little robot that's like, you already tried to access the site 3 times, and you're like, I know, darn it.
I even know there's an app, something that's just on your computer or something like that, or you can't access anything else on your computer.
Yeah.
Well, that's crazy. That's too much.
Yeah, sometimes a little too hard.
Okay, so we're coming down to the last questions now. What's the best advice that you ever received? And in turn, what's your best advice you give to teachers and librarians?
The advice I would give other teachers is don't take things personally. It's not about you.
Although you put so much soul, so much of your soul into it, right?
But at the end of the day, you can't beat yourself up or stress yourself out because we're never going to see like the full potential of what we're doing at this time, you know. If we're lucky, our students will contact us 30 years down the road and say thank you, but you know, I haven't even done that for my own teachers. That I think about often when I'm teaching. You kind of have to be okay with knowing that they might not find you very useful right now, but if you're doing it with all your heart and the students can see that and it's genuine, they will remember it. So don't take things personally, because there's, especially I've learned with my students, there's always something you don't know that's going on.
Yeah, they're experiencing life also, right? They've
got
a lot of things
lot
happening.
going on, and and it's always like, remember what 8th grade was like, remember what 6th grade was like. It was really hard.
It was hard, yeah.
So kind of remembering like the 6th grade remembering how you were, like, just don't take things personally.
Right.
It's not about you. You
That's
do what
one.
you do, and if you're doing it with all your heart, it's fine.
Yes.
It's fine.
That's great advice.
Yeah. And let's see. As far as advice I have been given,
Or principles, maybe, that can help. Something that guides you.
you just gotta listen to the signs of life and let it guide you. Do you know what I mean? Like, I wouldn't be here had I not worked at Sacred Heart Cathedral. I would not have been at Sacred Heart Cathedral if I had not made the leap from Hawaii to come here. I guess take the leap,
Right.
because everything will be fine. So that's something I just do it. I think that might be my motto. It's just you just gotta do it, or else like don't say things unless you really plan on doing it, because then you're just talking.
Right.
Yeah.
Very good advice.
Words are powerful. Use them wisely, and if you say you want to do something, and maybe if you say it more than 3 times, you're kind of gonna have to do it. I think that's the Bibliobicicleta. That's it. I was like, wouldn't it be cool? And I was sharing this idea with so many people, and then I was like, I have to do it, or else I just look like I'm talking, and then it's gonna appear, and I'm gonna be so sad that I didn't do it.
Right.
So just, if you have a great idea, especially in our city of San Francisco, just go for it, do it. I mean, talk to people, and they can help you get through. Yeah, it's like when you talk to people about it, all the problems go away. They help you solve it. So don't just rely on yourself. Talk to people. Don't be afraid of looking. You're not needy. You're just resourceful. I think that's a big thing. Yeah.
That's so awesome. Alicia, this is the end of your podcast episode, and I'm inspired. I've been meeting a lot of teachers also, sharing their stories, and definitely your story, it's amazing. Thank you so much for joining our show. I really appreciate it. Can you remind the people, our audience, how they can find you again?
Yeah, sure. Twitter, BiblioBCSF, so BiblioBICISF, or Facebook.com/BiblioBicicleta. And if you need to get in contact with me, you'll find your way to me through BiblioBC. And keep reading. Read books.
Awesome.
They're awesome.
All right. Thank you. And we are out.
All right. Adios.
Thank you for listening to the Teaching Bites podcast at www.teachingbites.com.